Live on South Beach.
Hi, I'm Dina Stewart.
And I'm Stewart Stewart.
And we're alive on South Beach.
A show with a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
I'd like to, first of all, welcome you back to my show and introduce you to my audience. This is Leonard Pitts, who is a syndicated columnist in over 250 newspapers around the country. Did I get that right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
A lot of newspapers. And he does this because he's a writer. And when he's not writing for his column, he does other kind of writing, like great novels with great stories and things that make you think after you read them. So let's catch up a little bit. What have you been up to since I saw you last?
Well, my glib answer is my neck in trouble, but I suppose you probably want a serious answer. What have I been up to? I have been essentially the same, working on the column, working on an African-American history project, which I'm hoping to premiere in about a year and a half. And of course, always working on the next novel. So, you know, nothing changes. The more it changes, the more it stays the same.
Everybody went through one of the most horrific periods of their life with the pandemic.
Yeah.
We all made choices that, you know, regarding our families, regarding ourselves, and how we're going to deal with it. As a result of your experiences with the pandemic, what did you learn about yourself and others that you thought you knew well?
Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what I learned about the country and some people, you know, close to me, frankly, is that when it comes to pulling together, we don't really seem to have it all together. We don't really seem to be able to do that the way that you would hope that we could. I became disappointed in a lot of what I saw happening in the country. Just the idea that wearing a mask becomes a political statement was really kind of troubling to me. That was just the most bizarre thing I've seen in a long time.
Why do you think it became so important that you wore a mask, you didn't wear a mask? It had nothing to do with health.
I think we've reached a point in the country where pretty much nothing does not have a political component. Pretty much every choice you make in life, it seems, at least in the view of some people, is expressing a political alignment. So if you wear a mask when the former president is not wearing masks and is openly mocking all the health precautions, then you're lining up against the former president and you're putting yourself on one side of the aisle or the other. It's really kind of silly because science has no politics. You know, science is science. You know, that's what time it is in the country right now. So it's a little disheartening.
Do you think it's just that people were so angry and here they found somebody who was able to express the anger that they knew was inappropriate in public, and then they could stand behind them and go, yeah, and get it all out?
But this has been going on in the country, this whole anti-factual, hate-filled atmosphere in the country has been going for a while now. It's been getting bigger and bigger.
When people have a mindset the way they do, you can't really have a honest and fair and balanced discussion with them. But what do you do? Do you think that this eventually will just burn itself out and go away? Or do you think this is here and something's going to happen to our democracy that we've never experienced before?
The question is whether it's going to burn the country out before it burns itself out. 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I was one of the first and one of the few columnists saying that what we were seeing was an existential threat to our democracy. And these days, you can barely turn around without hearing somebody say that. When I said it, I thought, okay, Leonard, you've lost your mind a little bit now. You're really stepping out on a limb. And it's kind of disheartening to me. There are times you don't want to be right. And it's really disheartening to me how what seemed a little scary for me to say 4 or 5 years ago has become the mainstream consensus. So I think that, and I've been saying this louder, you know, every chance I get, I think that the country and the democracy is in existential danger at this point. And, to your point about, live and let live, that's sort of my philosophy as well. But you can't live and let live when what people are actively trying to do is to take away or diminish your right to self-expression, your right to vote, your right to have your vote counted. Then it becomes then you're faced with a choice. You've got to either accept it and accept that this is what it is, or you've got to fight back and scream bloody murder. I mean, it's like the middle ground, or the option of opting out is something we're really losing at this point. There is no middle ground between I have a right to vote and I don't have a right to vote. There's no compromise point in that.
I remember when I was back in high school, we had a course called World History. And the professor or the teacher there at the time just kept saying, look at these great societies. What happened to them? Where did they disappear?
Right.
What replaced them as their ancestors? And that looks like history is repeating itself now. So what do we do?
Yeah, it does. It does, and the tragedy is that it would, if that's what happens to the United States, it will not be because of something any external opponent did. It will be because we did it to ourselves, and did it to ourselves because we couldn't or failed to or refused to live up to our founding creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. If we had ever, if America had ever been serious about that, we wouldn't be having these discussions. But it wasn't, so we are. And the only path out of it, if there is a path out of it, is a long and slow one of educating, and it's got to start young, because as Mama used to say, you can't raise grown people. I can't change a 45-year-old's mind. There's not a whole lot I can do to shape that. But we've really got to invest in teaching our young people American history and American civics.
Exactly.
There are too many people who are of age, who are voting, who are making decisions, who have no earthly idea beyond Lee Greenwood's song, what makes America special. They do not know. They are ignorant, and they have been made ignorant by us, by the generations that above them that were supposed to have been responsible for teaching them. They have been allowed to be ignorant. And when ignorant people make ignorant choices, you can be appalled, but you can't be surprised. You have no right to be surprised.
Using the term ignorant sort of suggests that it's impossible to change their minds.
Ignorant means uninformed.
Well, besides that, let's just for the moment take this 45-year-old that you're talking about. Do you think there could be a moment in the year when this 45-year-old and people who think completely different from him could come together, agree on something, and feel joyful about their involvement?
Not really. I mean, I hate to be a pessimist, but no, I don't think that there's a lot that 45-year-old is going to agree with. I'll put it to you like this: the column that just posted, it talks about the police officer who was grievously injured trying to save Andrew Clyde's life, and now Andrew Clyde, the representative from Georgia, is warning around, talking about that what happened on January 6th was like a normal tourist visit. And he voted against giving congressional gold medals to the officers, and he refused to shake the officer's hand. And I use that to make the point that if we can't agree on something as simple as that, the police officers who stood at that Capitol and took that beating trying to defend our lawmakers and defend our government, if we can't agree that they're heroes, what can we agree on? That should be a no-brainer. Black, white, Jew, Gentile, Muslim, left, right, purple, whatever. We should all be able to agree on that. And if we can't, that tells you what time, and we can't. That tells you what time it is in this country.
It also tells you everything that you need to know about a person who can't give anything back and just say, thank you, you saved my life. Forget about the politics.
Yeah, that should be a very basic thing. And it's not.
Like if that's where this country, is going, then what do we have to look forward to as long as there are people who are so strong-minded that they believe there are only two answers to every problem, theirs and the wrong answer?
I keep coming back to the kids.
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye said, "Save the children." I have seen nothing that allows me to believe that people once fully grown and fully formed are going to easily change their minds. There is a sickness in this country, and I think that it doesn't behoove any of us to understate that or to underplay it, because that if it is solvable, it's not going to be solved by ignoring it. That's a fact.
Well, I don't have the answer, and you don't have the answer, and I don't.
No, sir.
Any single individual does. But what if enough of us just had conversations like this, and we talked about things that you can do in your community and I can do in my community to just make things different than they are. Don't change. You're not going to change,
Right.
change, but make it different so that people will at least talk to each other. Because if they don't talk to each other and they don't get friendly, what's the alternative? They're going to get angrier and angrier, and then what happens?
If you can find a way to get the hardcore people on the political right to talk to the rest of us, then I will personally nominate you for the Nobel Prize, because you will have earned it.
Well, if I come up with that answer, I will call you in the middle of the night and say I got it, and then we'll see where we go from there. Before we go, tell me what's in the future, Leonard Pitts.
Working on the next book, which I'll start work on next year. That's the big project. I don't even have a name for it yet, just some vague ideas, but it's going to be a sequel to my last novel, The Last Thing You Surrender. It's going to be the first sequel I've ever done, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, when you finish it, come back and we'll talk about it some more.
It's a date.
I'm Dina Stewart,
And I'm Stewart Stewart.
and we're alive on South Beach.